Well, you know it's that time of the week. It's Wednesday, and it's On Cooldown, because we do On Cooldowns, the weekly WoW news show, which isn't really focused all the time on news, but really cool topics. And today we have on the plate...
Oh my god, it's WoW 2.0, the possibility of a WoW 2.0, what that could mean, what it would look like, what are the chances of us actually getting a WoW 2.0, because a couple of things have popped up in the last couple of weeks, and with everything going on with Microsoft, and
it makes you think, man. It makes you think. It makes you think. I mean, sure, this is all hypothetical, but we have some sort of premises to go on here. And before we go into it, one of the best things you can do in your life right now is to check out our Patreon, patreon.com/MarcelianOnline, where we get all types of cool shit like wallpapers for your characters in World of Warcraft. You can see bloopers with us fucking up and, babbling and dabbling and just being idiots all the time. Plus, you have access to all of the features that Patreon have, like the Patreon's chat, where we do like monthly Patreon chats and talk with you guys and feedback and all of that.
Oh yeah, it goes on, and obviously you'll be supporting everything that we do, this content as well, the class guys, the streams, the TLFs, the podcast as well, and you'll basically be part of the production.
Check the link in the description after you watch the video. Now let's get into it. World of Warcraft 2. We're going to start it off with the main question. We're going to have a couple of questions regarding a World of Warcraft 2, okay? So the first thing that we want to know, obviously, because we're all like eye candy whores, how would WoW 2 would look like? Well, luckily, a YouTuber by the name of Axel, who has been very, very nice on letting us use his footage, has made a sort of a project in Unreal Engine 5, and you can see there I would say an idea of how would a WoW 2 would look like. And let me just tell you that when I saw this the first time, and hopefully you feel the same way, I was like, damn, man, this could be so freaking epic. Just imagine all your favorite class animations would be updated with crisp new visuals and sounds. Obviously, new mechanics built into it. But one thing that when we discussed this, among the team with Lego and Flame, is like they have to be able to retain the same feel. World of Warcraft, for this many years, has its own unique feel, and this is really, really relevant when it comes to your class. How it plays out, the animations, the sounds, or whatever. It has this feel, and that has to be retained. If you look at the footage, it sort of gives you this vibe of like a console game, more or less, because it's over-the-shoulder camera, and I would say more of a God of War type thing or whatever. But this is the thing. If they are going to like get into Unreal Engine 5 at some point in the future with a brand new WoW, things might be at least slightly coded into more realism. Not saying it should be more realistic, but I would say a 20 to 30% visuals might be transformed a bit more realistic, while retaining, that I would say cartoony, quote-unquote, fantasy vibe Blizzard is known for.
That's actually a very good point, because that's where I was, whenever I think of like WoW 2.0 and essentially, updating the graphics and making everything change, WoW does have a unique feel and unique style that it's kind of very hard to replicate if you upgrade everything in Unreal Engine. But looking at what Axel did with his animations, his running, his swinging, his horse riding, and everything like that makes it look like, oh my god, this actually doesn't look bad. And it makes me think more and more about the Warcraft movie, and that was really cool animated. Sure, it was, fully rendered and all of that, and full CGI and that kind of stuff, but it looked Warcrafty. It felt Warcrafty. The orcs were massive and super fast for their size, and it felt nice. And this actually opens up the possibility for a lot of other things. For instance, they can essentially use this graphical engine to scale the models up to proper sizes, because if and to their credit as well, Blizzard has kind of uniformized the size of everybody, right? Like Taurens are just a little bit taller than orcs, trolls are like kind of the same size, right? But with an upgraded engine, you can essentially have more space to work with. You can have bigger character models, bigger bosses, cities, maybe up to actual scale, since it just offers more tools to do that with. And
updating the visuals obviously would go into much more detailed things to be put on the characters and the capital and the worlds and stuff. But one fair point Lego brought out is the fact that a big ass upgrade like this would definitely mean higher and higher
Yes.
specs for a PC to be able to run it. Now, I've kind of like had a small chat with Lego on this. It's like, okay, fair enough, right? If you're gonna have like a World of Warcraft 2 looking as stunning as this Axel project is looking here, we would be looking at a possible release date somewhere in 5 or 6 years from now, right? Now, in from 6 years from now, I believe that the technology will evolve and materials will probably not be in shortage as they are right now, and a lot more technology will be available, especially on the hardware side of things. Not to mention cloud gaming, right? Cloud gaming is gaining more and more traction, and I'm pretty sure that in 5 to 6 years from now, a lot of the gaming that is going to be held down and is going to be played is going to be through cloud gaming, right? As internet evolves as well. So I wouldn't be too worried about like PC specs necessarily, but it is a concern because we all know WoW has like for the longest time been so I would say entry friendly because of its low requirements to have it played.
That's the thing, because WoW is not like any other game, right? And there's the technology right now, and if you played a lot of other games with like better models, with like the Frostfire engine or the Unreal Engine as well, a lot of them have downscaling graphic options where you can essentially reduce the amount of, let's say, shrubbery you see, or the level of detail of the textures of the ground or the mountains, or draw distance as well. You can essentially reduce that to a point where it runs very, very smoothly with a lot of FPS. So this might have been an issue in the past, but it clearly has been proven that it's not. And with the addition of, let's say, because we kind of have to think about the context of Microsoft, there's going to be a lot more resources that goes into producing this kind of stuff. So it's more possible to be done with WoW 2.0 than let's say it is now.
Yeah, okay, now let's get to the real question, okay? Because we've been having speculation and hints regarding a possible WoW 2 for the longest time. Now, the real question is, what are realistically the chances of a World of Warcraft 2? So we have to analyze this first off from a business perspective, and then we have to analyze it from like, I don't know, a development, like an implementation perspective as well. Okay, now from a business perspective, my point is that it doesn't really make much sense to have a WoW 2 in development as long as the OG WoW is still delivering and providing huge chunks of revenue. Granted, I don't think as much as in the past because of the downward trends of the latest expansions, but nevertheless, the work on World of Warcraft currently is pretty much, I would say, standardized. It's cyclical. They kind of have their flow and their procedures and the processes, and it's kind of like, once every 2 years we have an expansion, blah blah patches. You already know the drill, and that generates revenue with the resources and budgets allocated to that. It's a profit-based thing, right? World of Warcraft 2, on the other hand, would mean a whole lot of expenses, right? And it wouldn't be a guaranteed hit. I mean, obviously it would be a big hype, but it wouldn't necessarily have this, I would say, guaranteed revenue like present World of Warcraft has.
I mean, it does have a good track record and a lot of hype in between them because the world is there. And from a business perspective, although that is a very solid point, I also think that with the new acquisition of Microsoft as well, they want to probably reinvent the image of clearly Blizzard, but by extension World of Warcraft as well. So a separate Warcraft product might make sense from, okay, let's clean up the slate. Let's make it sure, make people know that this is a new attitude. This is the future of WoW. This is different. We have different behaviors, different cultures around to the game. So that could also be maybe a more PR-y direction of justifying a WoW 2.0 as WoW, the OG WoW, still remains in continuation.
Yeah. Another thing is here. Okay, so a possibility of WoW 2 becoming a thing would be if you look at the I would say performances of the latest two expansions, BFA and Shadowlands, which both had a downward trend. Now, if the next expansion also follows this trend, so we have 3 consecutive expansions that go down, that might be a sparkle of idea to get into World of Warcraft 2 development. Now, speaking of expansions, we kind of already know there is going to be a new expansion after Shadowlands, so that's a fact. Possibly even 2, if you look at like the hints on the World of Warcraft webpage regarding Velen. Like Velen's new description kind of says something about a upcoming war between the light and the void, right? So we have this dragon thingy and we have the light void thingy, so possibly 2 more expansions. Now, if we're going to talk about Microsoft, as Flame pointed out, yes, having Microsoft bought Activision Blizzard, that means a whole lot of more resources in terms of money. Now, money is something that is required to get more people in, to start developing and get new artists and everything. Like, if you want to reset and have it a WoW 2 like a separate product, as opposed to like the OG WoW made transform into the classic series, then yes, Microsoft would be able to provide and make that happen. Now, what would development mean for World of Warcraft 2? If we think about what we have now, so we have at least one new expansion being in the works and probably is going to be announced somewhere this week or probably next week, okay? If they're going to start this, they're probably going to start it, I would say, when the deal is finalized. So I would say maybe after summer 2023.
Probably practically. Yep. I wouldn't be surprised if they're like they would start brainstorming earlier than that as well. And I would imagine a lot of devs have a lot of ideas that they might have wanted to put into WoW for years and they couldn't because of whatever. So that would probably be some juices there that could
for sure. This. I mean, I'm sure that if they're going to start brainstorming, that's already happening. But in terms of like actual like coding and stuff, I would see it after 2023, right? And that would mean at least 3 to 4 years of development.
Yeah, so it's gonna be a while.
Yeah, you can maybe look at a possibly at a 2025 announcement or teaser trailer or whatever, and possibly a 2026, 2027 release for a hypothetical World of Warcraft 2. Now, okay, what do you think World of Warcraft 2 should deliver on? What would it be?
The thing is, obviously we can think of World of Warcraft 2.0 as the solution to all the problems that we have now, and some of the more obvious ones clearly go without question, like, you know, new talents and all of that stuff. But I definitely think it should start at least with a clean slate, as in both in terms of story and the world as well. Sure, we can have the OG WoW keep rolling in the background. You can have all of your things that you've accumulated there over the years, but this should be fresh. It should be a new world, should be new stories. It can either be something like, oh, some time has passed since whatever expansion or OG WoW has released last, or it could be just a re-story with like almost no connection to the OG WoW, although I see that as a little bit less likely, since the world itself is very big and you would need some kind of premise, some kind of world building that goes into this. So I feel like, let's take Shadowlands for example. We've defeated the jailer, the death machine has fucked up the world, and things have kind of soft reset, right? Yeah. Where we're back to kind of square one, and maybe now after like, what, 17 years of developing WoW, they kind of know exactly, okay, let's not go into astral time traveling and cosmic primordial storylines, because that kind of boxes you in and kind of makes it weird to create new stakes and new premises.
Where do you go from that point, right? More and more and more. I think, yeah, that's a fair point. They have to come out with a clean slate. And I strongly believe if World of Warcraft 2 would be something that would be happening, they would just completely have to make it its own separate thing, as we talked previously. Now, obviously, one important thing would be some sort of way of players being able to port their OG WoW characters to the new thing. Now, that has to be optional. It's not mandatory, because again, we kind of see WoW 2 as its own thing. But optionally, you have the possibility to get your character ported into the new game. Now, for people who like just want to retain that, I don't know, BFA grandeur of mysteries and, you know, the thrills of unlocking covenants in Shadowlands, that all of those can be moved to the classic series, and you can have like seasons of masteries or whatever, and that would be directly to different products, and each product would satisfy a different niche and player base. Okay, yes, new talent system. I would say much of the same abilities, but they have to be updated with like new mechanics, with better use of physics, as we saw in the footage from Axel, like wall running and sliding and being able to throw your weapons, you know, and get them back, you know, like a boomerang effect and stuff like that. Lego mentioned as well, like new specializations for classes. I think Flame mentioned this as well. Like, don't introduce new classes necessarily, but maybe add specs to the existing fewer classes within the game. game, have 3 profession slots, maybe when one max gathering. This is again something that Lego noted down, and I think you mentioned something about professions as well. Very important.
This is something that I've been struggling with, and now that you have a refresher on the Witcher, maybe you can appreciate what crafting can do to an RPG. And I think like as well with when it comes to professions, it should take. I feel it would be a lot more interesting and a lot more substance to the professions if they would take something similar to a Monster Hunter type profession, where you can make first of all relevant gear from professions, epic level gear that are actually epic. You can fight the dragon, kill it, and after you collected like 3 scales of that dragon, you can make a epic level shield, like a raid level shield.
Out of its skills, that sounds so cool.
Yeah, and so you can take that with fangs to make swords or daggers or stuff like that, or you can just get materials like specific iron ores or whatever. Essentially make professions scale to endgame, not just to help you get into endgame, because after that they just become obsolete.
Yep.
And as well, professions can go back, at least not go back, because obviously we're gonna have to have something new, but take the things that, let's say, TBC did well, where you have sub-specializations of professions, right? If you're a blacksmith, you can be an armorsmith, weaponsmith, shieldsmith, or whatever, and you can go and craft that specific type of item at even, let's say, a higher eye level, although maybe we won't have the concept of eye level in WoW 2.0, but then again, you would still be able to like, oh my god, I'm killing this, I'm gonna finally make that shield. It would solve a lot of loot issues that current WoW has right now with the RNG, where you're not sure if that shield is gonna drop for you, or let's say that axe is gonna drop for you. You can essentially just farm the mats and make one that's actually really good to clear the content up. And we can work this up with the import of the character, like you mentioned. I feel like if they add the character into WoW, they could probably keep the cosmetics if they're gonna start with a new engine, a new combat, and all of that. I'm not sure if everything is transferable, but they could at least keep like old cosmetics as Easter eggs, as nostalgias, like you can find, oh my god, I looted those shoulders 10 years ago. You can either import it, or oh my god, this chest in this super secret cave has these shoulders, like they're just maybe for cosmetic reasons, but oh, I remember when I looted these, and now they will be like in high res graphics with proper textures and stuff like that, and it could essentially add a different feel to WoW.
This is the thing. The amount of possibilities that are available for a WoW 2 are just endless. I mean, we can make a video on this on at least 3 hours, right? The thing is, a World of Warcraft 2 would be able to also tell a brand new story. And it should tell a brand new story from the get-go. Either it will have a premise within the last expansion, that whatever that may be, or it can just be, as I said in the beginning, brand new, clean slate from ground zero, okay? And I would strongly want Metzen not to be hired for it necessarily, because I know he doesn't want that corporate shit anymore, but at least get him as an advisor or something in that capacity. That
would be...
Because Metzen, I mean, let's face it, man, Metzen, with all his faults and rockstar attitude or whatever, he had some of the best stories within WoW. The story of Arthas, more or less, was his brainchild. Obviously, that was a collaborative effort over there, and a lot of people chipped in and made that shit happen, but the seed of it was Metzen's, alongside many other iconic characters within the game, like Garrosh and stuff. Sylvanas not that much.
And imagine those stories being weaved into the game a little bit more than what we have right now, which feels a little bit archaic to just like talk to an NPC, follow the quest, gather the stuff, and that's something that can also be improved upon. Like we mentioned as well, we can have like more interesting quests. We don't have to have like these achievements of like complete 1,000 quests. We don't need 1,000 quests. We need one really good one. Maybe we can revamp the whole dungeon system, where it's not necessarily just go in, kill X mobs and kill X boss, get the loot and get out. We can either have it instant turnout, or we can go in, have a quest that unlocks further aspects of the dungeon, different type of loot. It can evolve and phase out. Like remember the Death Knight starting zone, where the zone changes as you progress through the story. They can take that concept and put it into dungeon, and use dungeons and raids as well to tell the story, as opposed to put an end to the to put a conclusion to the story. It's like, oh, Sylvanas has done all of this stuff. Oh, we talked to all the NPCs, freeze everybody, and then finally we go into the raid to kill her. That was fine once or twice, but now it just becomes stale. And I think it should just be, remade and re-envisioned with the soul of what made Arthas a great story, and what made, let's say, Illidan in Legion, like it or not, it was a really good development to his character story.
Yes.
So that could be really cool.
This is another thing, right? You have already examples in OG WoW. Now, if they would do questing as they did in Suramar, which I felt was amazing, that would be a long way towards what questing would be in World of Warcraft 2. Just do something similar on what you did to the different types of quests you had in Suramar. Kind of reminded me that, okay, it is an MMO, but man, am I having fun when my friends are not online, doing all of these storylines and quests, because they were different and they followed a interesting and unveiling progressively story, right? This was the amazing thing about Suramar. They already done this. They know how to do it. It's a really good point, man. They have to like not necessarily get rid of like 100% of the gather 5 boar hides.
No, that's still part of the grind, and it's
but,
cool.
Yeah, but they need to focus more on the unique shit, right? On the different stuff. Because
look at how Witcher does quests, and Witcher's an old game, like what 2016.
Oh man, yeah, it's no comparison.
It's
man.
old, and yet the quests develop into stories, and you don't need to do I need to do like 10,000 quests so I can get enough gold and items to get the gold. Now that's too material and too objective, too simplistic, too mechanical. Just make it add the story, and because you can take all of the issues that we have right now with WoW, where they need books to tell the rest of the story because there's not enough content in game to do it. We can essentially take some of that. Like, I don't have any problems with books, but let me play the game and see that the story is all there. And if I want to, have tidbits of dialogue and interaction with characters, I can read the book if they need to. But that could also add the different level and essentially bring WoW to a modern RPG, MMO or otherwise.
Yeah, you mentioned Witcher. The thing about Witcher is you obviously have a main story to follow, but you want to do the secondary missions and quests and whatever because you're curious on what the outcome is. You don't have that in WoW. Now, obviously, we're comparing like apples to eggs over here, but in terms of like purely quests to do in order to like pass and eat time and entertain yourself when your friends are not online and you're not able to do like dungeons or raids or whatever, this is something that can be added to World of Warcraft 2 no problemo. And they did it in the past with Suramar. That's like the best example. Now, obviously, we can go for hours on ideas and concepts on what a World of Warcraft 2 could mean, but realistically, if this is going to happen, we're looking at least 5 to 6 years, and it has to be something. I think like the biggest trigger would be if the next WoW expansion would fail. In terms of like, I'm not feeling.
I mean, I don't really want to think about it that way, but
that would be a trigger.
But sure, I feel like trigger or not, I would really like for them to take WoW into a modern direction, whether or not it is WoW 2.0 or just the OG WoW upgrade or revamped. They definitely have the manpower. They will definitely have the resources now, and people there are really smart. If somebody can figure out a way to make what WoW we have today into a more modern WoW, both in terms of mechanics, graphics, combat animations, and all of that, then they can definitely. They are the people that can do it.
Yeah, and they have the resources with Microsoft, so that's another strong point. But at some point in time, maybe because of the Microsoft acquisition, if it goes through in 2023, we will have something.
You know what's funny, because we talked about WoW 2.0 and people have been talking about it for years, and we always said, man, it's not possible, but if anything can make it possible, it's the current situation.
Yes,
now.
Exactly. This is why it kind of sparkled an idea for us to visit the subject once again. Obviously, the first thing was Axel's videos, which you should definitely check out. We'll have a link to his channel in the description.
Down below.
He definitely deserves it. He puts a lot of work. He basically does.
Dude, I have no idea how long it took him to do that shit.
Man, and he worked on designing Ogrimmar and stuff. Definitely worth checking out and looking for yourselves, guys, because he's doing some amazing things, and I'm anxiously awaiting more stuff to come out and give us more fuel on what possible WoW 2 would mean. But that being said, we'd like to thank the Patrons for supporting these types of videos. Hope you liked it. Let us know in the comments what you think. Would you expect something like this to happen? What would be your expectations and stuff like that? But Patrons, thank you once again for making all of the content possible. It's been a hell of a ride so far, and it's much, much more to come. The future is looking bright. If you haven't checked already, down in the description, now it's the time. We talked about it in the intro of the video. Now it's the time to check the link on the Patreon. Thank you for watching.
See you next time.
Bye.
I've been loving it then, I still love it now. Still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. Getting better every day, let me show you how. Cause still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. It's getting harder to stay, but at the end of the day, it's a guilty pleasure, so just log in and play. Whether it's classical retail, I'ma do a /bow. Still, I play WoW.